Okay, so on this test, yeah, we have chapter 2 and chapter 3 basically covered our test here, first test. Now, as far as chapter 2 goes, that's our set stuff, talking about sets. And so with sets, a couple of things. First of all, there's some notation like element of, subset of, proper subset. So there's some notation there for you to know what it means. You know, that's element of, subset of, and that's, what's the difference between that and that? That's subset, that's proper subset. So be sure you know the difference between those. You know, to be a subset, it could be the same size, but it also, smaller, but it could be also the same size. On a proper subset, it has to be a smaller set. It can't be the set itself. A set is a subset of itself, but a set is not a proper subset, because a proper subset has to be smaller. Anyway, know those. Then there's this, might need to know what that is, in parentheses A, cardinal number, which is another term to remember. And whether it's n of A or cardinal number of A, what does that mean? Just the number of elements, yeah. It's the number of elements of a set. There's also a little formula, not too big a deal there, but 2 to the nth, what does that give you? It's the number of subsets, right? Yeah, if you go 2 to the nth power, where n is the number of elements, that gives you the number of subsets a set has. And then, of course, tied into that, what's the number of proper subsets? Subtract 1, right? Subtract 1, get the number of proper subsets. So, you know, a few little notational things. And of course, you got intersection, union, the difference of sets, the complement of a set, all those good things, be able to work those. The intersections, what's in common. Union is everything in both sets put together. What we talked about. Any questions about those? So, you know, on the test we'll have similar problems to what the homework problems were regarding all of these. There's just some true and false. Yes, there will be some true and false. I think those were, a lot of them were on the notation stuff. But anyway, that's from chapter 2. Oh, and then the other thing too, I would like for you to know the words or and and, what those are synonymous with. And remember, or is synonymous with the union. And is the intersection. So be able to answer the question if it asks how many are in A or B, or how many are in A and B, and those sorts of things. So that's a little bit on chapter 2. And then of course chapter 3, that's our logic stuff. Yeah, so be able to work with statements in logic, negations, especially, you know, sometimes to do a negation, you just add the word not, right? If it says today is Thursday, well, the negation of that is today is not Thursday. So sometimes you just add the word not. However, remember those special ones, the quantifiers, like if you got some, whatever the statement is, it's a sum statement. The negation of that is not, it is not some, or some are not. So if you've got some are, the negation of that is not some are not. The negation of some are is none are, or whatever appropriate grammatically speaking should be. Sometimes you just use the word no there, but so be aware of those. All, and it goes vice versa. If you've got none, the negation is some. All, it's not all. You with me there? So if it says all are this, or whatever, the negation of that is not all are. So that one, pretty easy, just add the word not there. So anyway, be able to do those. Then of course, the other negations that we talked about were for the compound statements, which on the compound statements, get back to that then. So in the compound statements, we're talking like P and Q, P or Q, P arrow Q, which is the P, if P then Q. Yeah, so be able to do truth tables for the compound statements. If you've got just P's and Q's, you just need the 4 lines, true, 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 false, false, true, false, false. But if you add an R into the mix, how many lines are there? 8. There's 8 lines. So be sure you're familiar with truth tables with those as well. And of course, be able to write, like if I had these symbols and then had a statement for P and a statement for Q, be able to write those in symbols and back and forth there. Then also your negations, be able to negate those. Like on P and Q, the negation of P and Q, remember you do the not P, the not Q, but you change the or and to or, right? That's the negation of that. The negation of that one is similar. You negate P, negate Q, but you change the or to and. Now this one is the trickiest. The negation of it is P and not Q for that, but probably would know how to negate those as well. And then also on the if P then Q statement, one more time here. Also know those, the inverse, the converse, the inverse, and contrapositive for that. Remember the converse, what does it do? Flips. So it's if Q then P. The inverse negates them, so it's if not P then not Q. And then the contrapositive flips and negates, right? So if not P, if not Q then not P. We did it in symbols there, but usually I have those in words and state those in words. Converse, inverse, and contrapositive. And then one other thing to note on those, which one's equivalent to if P then Q? So if I had a line of statements and I said which one's equivalent, really usually what I'm looking for is a contrapositive, right? That's the one that's equivalent. Contrapositive is equivalent to the original statement. So that's a little bit about the first 4 sections there. So section 6, that's the arguments, logical arguments. And probably we'll have a couple of them at least where you have to write the argument in symbols and then pick out the appropriate argument form. Now again, you don't have to memorize those argument forms. I will provide those on the test.
You'll write them?
Yeah, I will have those. So modus
Good.
tollens, modus ponens, I'll have those all listed on the test for you, so you don't have to memorize those. Just be able to recognize them. Be able to write an argument in symbols and then tell me which one argument form it is and whether it's valid or invalid. But then also, the other side to that is using a truth table to determine validity. So we'll have you do one of those at least for the arguments. Which we did. Several of those examples, refer back to that if you need to. Pretty much it. Anything else you all can think of to ask about?